Good morning, everyone. I, CA Pragya Jain, on behalf of the Professional Skill Enrichment Committee of ICI, welcome all the participants in today's webcast on the science of problem solving, strategic thinking, and analytical mastery of professionals. And I, first of all, I welcome today's resource person, CA Bhavesh Mahajan sir, and other present over here. And it's absolute pleasure me to introduce today's speaker, Bhavesh sir. CA Bhavesh Mahajan ji is a distinguished chartered accountant and a senior partner at Messrs. Bhavesh Mahajan and Company, Amritsar. With over 19 years of professional experience in audit and assurance, taxation, banking, financial consultancy, and strategic advisory. He is known for his integrity and governance driven leadership. He has earned a strong reputation for delivering a quality financial and strategic solution. He is a passionate academic and mentor. He holds multiple ICI certification including DISA, forensic accounting and fraud detection, GST and artificial intelligence for chartered accountant 2024, and he serves as a empaneled faculty with ICAI, actively contributed to professional training and ethics, and he has held key leadership positions such as secretary and vice chairman of the ICAI Amritsar branch and secretary of Income Tax Practitioner Association, Amritsar. He is deeply committed to social and educational cause. He co-founded YAKP Private Limited and a socio-economic startup promoting financial literacy, and he serves as founder board member of Teja Singh Samudri Viksit Amritsar Foundation, and he is a treasurer of Vidya for All. And his blend of professional excellence, ethics value, and social responsibility makes him a respected voice in the accounting and finance fraternity. Great to read your profile, sir. Without further ado, let's we start the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Pragyama. First of all, wishing all the viewers and the present over here very happy new year. We have entered into another phase of 2026 after covering the very eventful 2025, the year which saw so many things that happened in our country, specifically related to even the war and other parts. And if we talk about certain parts of the country which were affected by the floods, but overall, as we always say, that we humans are very much strong and with a lot of enthusiasm and everything, we welcome the new change, the change that has gone from the change date 2025 to 2026. So let's begin a new journey. We have just now concluded the tax filing session of income tax as well as GST on 31st of December, wherein the uh, required filings under income tax has been closed for regular filing, and GST also the annual filings have been done with GSTR 9 and 9C. So now we are planning for the next year. And the today's topic that we are going to deliberate and discuss upon is the problem solving, the topic which actually does not require any specific discussion. Reason being, we day in day out are solving problems for our clients and others, and in day to day life. Actually, the problem solving is more than a professional; it's a personal trait that we all need to master upon and need to learn. And over all these years of professional work and professional journey, we have learned one thing, that being a chartered accountant not only provides us the professional degree in a taxation and other work, but also is a journey or a life learning situation wherein we learn so many things, especially to tackle so many problems and how to come out of good problems by solving them in a safe manner. But still, when we talk about the science of problem solving, we do so many things which are which looks very common to us in day-to-day life, and we never realize that we are doing it in a that specific manner. But just to understand that how this all solving process, problem solving process actually works, how this goes on. And most of us must be already doing it in that manner only, but just to review if any certain specific improvements are required or if certain things are required in our day-to-day life, in our approach, in our working, that definitely is going to serve a better purpose. And that's what is actually the very much specific purpose of this very enlightening committee of ICI, that is Professional Enrichment Committee, because it teaches that how we can improve upon certain things which we are already doing, soft skills, which we are already having it, but sometimes we miss out certain small points which can help us to improve our these soft skills. So let me share the screen first of a small presentation that I would like to go on while going through this session. So as you can see a small uh, para written over here that it's seeking to elevate their strategic thinking capabilities and transform complex challenges into clear, actionable solutions. Day in, day out, we go through this process of problem solving the moment we enter into our offices. First of all, that even at our domestic fronts and non-professional fronts, we keep on evolving. Uh, we keep on facing so many challenges, so many problems, so many issues, and many a time we successfully overcome these issues and problems. But at the same time, some we feel somewhere that some problems could have been tackled in a much better way, or it would have given a better solution if we have done it in a little bit or worked upon them in a little bit more scientific manner. But then ultimately, it's the result that talks about. It's the effort that we put in during the solution of these problems. So ultimately, our strategic thinking capabilities and solving the issues in the manner in which it should be, it brings the best of the desired results that we all look for. So why we call it a science of problem solving? Because here we are going to in the next almost 100 minutes or so, we will be looking into certain aspects, certain things which actually is a science because tells us that how a certain thing can be done in a methodological manner wherewith we can bring out it by doing so we can do it in a more professional way and will bring out the desired result as we always look for. First, we have to see into that why we are actually looking at this topic as a professional. Why it is a core skill for CA. Look, we always operate at intersection of complexity, regulations, numbers, and business pressure. Day in, day out. As I already said that we just couple of days back we have crossed 31st December, which was a due date wherein so many things were actually intersecting with each other. Income tax filings, income tax GST filings, even GSTR cases wherein it was getting time barred for financial year 21-22 and other cases, certain other issues which require timely actions and other things. So wherein the technical correctness alone is not enough. We have to look upon so many because when we are working under pressure, we are working under a due date or deadline wherein we are prone to make certain errors. We are prone to make certain mistakes or miss out on certain important things. But where there it comes that It's not the technical correctness that is always required, but it's how we manage and solve those issues and meet the deadlines under the stress and the changing situation. The regulatory landscape is constantly shifting. Day in, day out, there are so many changes that are coming into whether it's a taxation, it's a accounting, it's a auditing, it's a even institute regulations and otherwise, that the client expectations are continuously rising. Client, if that's why we call ourselves the solution manager or the business manager, wherein we provide 360-degree solutions or help to our clients, not only as an auditor, because auditing or an auditor is a little other aspects, but otherwise as a business consultant or a consultancy, management consultant, we are more into helping clients coming out of different issues. Success requires more than just knowing the rules. It demands the ability to navigate ambiguity and deliver strategic solutions. The most valuable CA is not the one who knows the law, but the one who can solve the right problem at the right time. Telling the law to the client will not solve the problem, but what will solve the problem is how we can help the client within the legal framework of that one. How we can solve the problem of the client in the right way. As a CA or as any of the professional or even otherwise, if it's not required, it's not necessary that if we know the law, we have become the professional. But the work of the professional is not only knowing the law, regulations, but also how within that law and the regulation we can solve the respective problem of the client. And solving the problem at the right time within with a good result to the client, with a win-win situation to the client is what actually is the uh, core professionalism that is expected from us. Because when the client enters our door, the office, our offices or meet us or give a call to us on certain issues, what he is expecting us is not to tell him what the law is and what is this, but expecting us to tell him the solution of his problem. We are some many a time we are the last resort to whom he turns into as a friend, as a guide, as a consultant, or whatever whether he takes us to because our role changes from one situation to the another considering the issue on which the client is discussing with us. So when he is doing it, it's our utmost responsibility that take we put in whole of the effort, whole of our wisdom and everything in order to solve those problems. This fundamental truth separate exceptional professional from merely competent ones. If we have to become a exceptional professional or we have to hone our own skills and to consider ourselves that the client value us as we think we should be. So there we have to become the solution provider. Our ability to diagnose issues accurately, think strategically and implement effective solutions becomes our competitive advantage in the marketplace. Because as a chartered accountant, we are not only taught the law, we are not only taught the rules, we are not only taught the regulations, but what we are taught is how to solve the issues and how to get out of the problems. Our 3 years or 2 years training, whatever we have gone through, our such a vast and versatile curriculum has us to become a hardcore professional. And when we talk about hardcore profession, we are not talking about in the sense of just an arrogance or just some toughness. But a hardcore professional means that when the client turns to us, we are there to help him in whatever best possible way we can. It is our utmost responsibility. It is our utmost uh, work or professional uh, requirement that we give the best of the solution to the problem of the client, even if we have to sometimes go out of the four walls of the regulation and the laws, so that ultimately the client can be benefited or ultimately the client does. But when we are talking about this thing, we are talking about from the perspective of as a management consultant, not as a auditor, because in auditing there the scope of adjustment or scope of this thing is a little less, but still in that also it's not our duty to being a fault finder, but also to but as a solution provider and as a early detector of any problem that is coming up. So starting with this science that we talked about, science of problem solving. The first aspect is turn complexity into clear solution. Clarity is the first competitive advantage. Have you ever seen, as in a pictorial depiction in the slide also you can see, so many wires are going entangled among themselves, and sometimes in our day-to-day life also we feel that certain when we deal about with certain complex issues that the wires and the other things they get too much entangled among themselves, that we try to solve that complexity. First, we try to make and untangle those wires so that we can find where the wire is starting and where the wire is ending. So that's the first principle of this science of problem solving. That first we have to get into make the complexity less complex and make it clear. Now, why business problems feel complex? Because none of the business problem is unilateral. They all are so much interconnected. They are so much related to each other that if we go on a single way of solving the single problem, sometimes it can affect the other issue or it can create a new problem. So financial, tax, and compliance they are all correlated. Multiple stakeholders with competing interests. There are so many other. If we suppose there is a management where there is some problem in the management or a deadlock in the management. So there are multiple stakeholders. Even in the partnership firm, small partnership firms, it may happen that one partner and the other partner can have certain issues, and they are not into the talking terms or having some issues wherein the overall business is getting affected. Overall problem is getting created. So there it comes to that their stakeholders are more, and because of their individual interest and everything, the problem is getting created. So by solving one stakeholder's problem, it may happen that the other stakeholder might get upset or might create a problem at a later stage. Similarly, incomplete or contradictory information are there, which is again a problem as a chartered accountant we face in day out that the client is not providing the full information while conducting our audit, or otherwise also, or the information that is available are from different sources which are contradictory, which will not help us to get into a conclusive evidences or conclusive solutions or opinions. Overlapping regulatory requirements are there. There, like again, just to get back, okay, there are the requirement of annual GST returns and the audits, and they are overlapping each other. We have to match the GST with books with GST ledger, and all those things. They are all interrelated and overlapping to each other, which takes a lot of time and creates a new problem in itself. There's an intense time pressure and resource constraint automatically. Sometimes the time pressure is created not because of the fault of ours, but because of certain external factors which we don't have a control. There are certain things which require certain timely action, and we have taken timely action. But what happens is some of the external issues make the problem tense or make the problem more complex. So the problem we face daily involves navigate through layers of complexity, where technical accuracy is not just the requirement. It is to balance with practical business considerations, stakeholder management, and strategic objectives. Now, I can have a technical knowledge, okay, as an auditor or even as a management consultant, I can give a solution to certain problems. But just the technical knowledge will not help us to solve the problem. a person who is dealing into engineering services or our client who is working in engineering services, it may happen that there, he may know his work the best, but sometimes he is also affected by certain external factors wherein he doesn't have the control. Or he says, ki, okay, I am good at my own work, but these additional problems that are coming into running of my business, running of a MSME unit or otherwise, I am not aware of them and neither I am good at solving them. So I require your help. So ultimately, it's not just a tech. If I know how to make a machine, but if I don't know how to sell the machine, then there is no purpose in making it and creating a stock. Most of the time, we have seen that the startups get held up or startup get closed because of the factor that the idea is good, science is there, innovation is there, everything is there, but they are not able to deliver because technically they are sound, they know how to make the product, but if that product is not sellable or a marketable or generating revenue for them, there is no point in creating that product. Similarly, first we have to understand the problem which is clear and which along with the technical accuracy and the knowledge requires the different requires the solution to the different aspects which ultimately will give us overall solution to that problem. Now, as a chartered accountant, what is our natural strength when it comes to complexity? As I said, that we day in, day out are dealing with these complex issues. We are dealing with so many issues at the time when there are deadlines approaching. We are dealing with so many clients at the same time with different issues, with different level of constraints, with different level of persuasion. So there, our training, our overall experience that comes into picture. The first aspect of our strength is the structured thinking. Our training has equipped us with systematic approaches to dissect and organize complex information into manageable frameworks. I still remember my training days wherein the computers or the computerized books were not yet so much into practice, and the accountants used to come with the manual book with the trial balance in them, which were mm, totally mismatched. The debit side and the credit side of the trial balance were having a huge differences, and the accountants used to come and give in throw the books in our offices and say, "Sir, this is the trial balance. There is this much of differences in the trial balance. So you just please match it and finalize the book." Because we don't expect them to be. I mean, if they are accountants, automatically we don't expect that they must be so much equipped with so many things because in small centers, etc., the accountant knowledge was also not very much so. So at that time, what we learned or our trainer or our principal used to teach us that if we have to solve the or if we have to match the trial balance differences, the best part was to divide the trial balance in different periods and see where the actual difference is, and slowly and individually make the break down the differences to the minimum level so that you can get see where the actual problem is. So that is the structured thinking that we are made to train into. The component analysis, the ability to break problems into discrete components, allows you to address each piece methodologically without losing sight of the whole. So when we divide a issue into small issues, so automatically when we start solving them, so what happens sometimes is we solve one problem and due to the solution of that small problem, some other problem might also get solved because there may be things they are interrelated. But when it is a good one, it looks like it's a very big result. But when we start solving small part of the by dividing into the components, it will automatically help in solving the other issues also. Rules and exceptions, our familiarity with complex regulatory framework means we are comfortable navigating gray areas and identify applicable precedents. As I said that the best professional or a CA or a lawyer is not the one who knows the law, but the one who knows how to analyze that law, how to get the loophole from that, or how to get the response from that, or how to get that minute point from that, where can click and change the overall scenario of the judgment or this way. So that's where we are having a little edge over others, and years of experience dealing with incomplete information has made us to evolve standards where our tolerance of uncertainty and adaptive problem solving is there. Day in day out, we get incomplete information that never we have seen or I have at least seen, wherein the best of the information is available for our work. It's we who have to work within those incomplete and non perfect information and get the best result out of that. And that is our core strength actually, wherein where we are the best in solving the problem without getting into waiting for the best of the information and the true accurate information, but how to get the solution out of whatever resources, whatever things are available with us, and to reach the result wherein the scope of error or the scope of mistake is minimized. That's what we call about the materiality level that we are taught about, and how we have to see that instead of focusing or putting more of a time on collection of our accurate data, how with the best possible available information we can convert into the we can use and convert it into the desired result. From complexity to clarity, the most effective problem solvers don't simply react to complexity. Means if there's something that is complex, we just don't react. Okay, this is bad, this is this is worse, it is not easy, something. But we systematically reduce it using proven framework. This structured approach transforms overwhelming challenges into manageable success. If we go through this complexity to the clarity part, means first the situation that has come to us is a complex. Now we have to move towards the clarity aspect, how we can get best of the clarity from the complex situation, so that we can work upon how the which path or the which way we have to follow so that the ultimate solution can be achieved. The first aspect in that is define the real problem. What is actually the core problem of whole of the issue? If we are not able to get to that core problem or a real issue, how many effort we put out will not ultimately solve the problem. It will be a short-term solution, but not the long-term solution. We have to look beyond surface symptoms to identify underlying issues. What is actually happening? Why certain problem is arising? We have to get to the core of that, and we have to for that we have to ask many why. Why this has happened? Why this has not happened? Why this is happening? Why certain things are not getting controlled? Why the people are not working? Why the people are not responding to our issues or our concerns? So many whys when we will ask or try to get the answer to those whys, then only we will be able to get to the real problem, because then we will be able to understand see how that problem is ultimately evolved into such a thing that now there is a requirement to solve it. So real problem can only be the first and the foremost part to get clarity is to identify the real problem. Then after once we have identified what the real issue is, what the issue can be, out of that so many complex, so many small components must have evolved. We have to break into manageable parts, decompose the problem into distinct addressable components. Certain things which are common should be put into a single aspect. We have to make different blocks of the problem. We have to do it in a distinct, okay, these three issues are correlated, so that are to be formed into a single packet. Other three issues are other correlated, we have to put in there. So we have to create a logical grouping that allow focused analysis without losing the interconnection. When we will do this, as I said earlier also, that sometimes what happens is by solving one issue, another correlated issue might get solved at the same time and give a better result. So as we say that if I take one of the raw example of real life, that in our own household, what happens is, suppose there are two or three children in our home. So when we scold or when we tell some single child, one child something about this thing, automatically the reaction goes to the other problematic child also, that he is or she is getting scolded or is getting punished for doing certain thing wrong. So the other automatically gets affected and they also see that okay, we might also get a scolding or same type of punishment if we keep on doing the same issue problem again and again. So it's not required that we have to punish all the three children, but by punishing single child, the other two automatically get the signal. Okay, this is the point. If a particular child has got scolding or punishment because of this issue, if we also do the same thing, we will also be prone to that. This. So what it is, by breaking it, what has happened is we have put a signal or we have tried to solve in a decomposed manner. Third aspect is prioritizing impact areas. What happens is sometimes all the components are not to priority. But first we have to see what is the most prioritized aspect that we have to look into. We have to identify each element, which elements will deliver the greatest return on your problem solving. So we have to identify that impact point, that impact issue, wherein if we solve that, it will ultimately lead to a better result or a more output than the effort that we are putting into. So after breaking into a manageable path, if we are our first step should be to see which is more important. Do the ABC analysis. ABC analysis that we do in our costing aspect also when we do cost accounting or this or a valuation system. Like, what we do is keep sometimes 80% of the item in volume might not have a same value, wherein the 20% in volume might have more of a value. So we have to target our efforts on that 20% more, so that if we are able to solve that 20% part, it will have a more of a desired result rather than working on those 80%, because the effort will require more on those 80%, but the output of that will not be so much uh, as per our expectation or as per the desired output. So we have to see the priority wise scenario or the component wherein we have to put more of our effort on a priority basis, so that the moment it gets solved or it gets resolved, it have a more of effect on the overall solution or a problem. We have to identify the constraints look after identifying what is the real issue, breaking the issues into small parts, doing the ABC analysis and finding the most similar. We have to see now what are the constraints that are going to stop us from getting the best of the solution. We have to understand our boundaries, our aspects, what are the four walls on the thing within which we have to do our work. So if we will be able to understand the regulatory requirements, resources, limitation, time, pressure, etc., we will be able to strategize make our strategy in a manner that given the under the given constraints, what best possible solution we can get into. After identifying the constraints, now we have to design our solution path, because now we know what's the real core issue. We have broken that issues, different issues, reaching to those core issues into different components, solving one at a time, and In that also we have made our priority part, that what problem need to be taken care of first, and then the next, and then this thing. And after that, we have identified the constraint under which all these things has to be done, all the possible scenarios, because we know that our we are don't have the liberty of doing anything, but we are restrained or stopped by certain issues with which under which we have to work. So ultimately, by knowing all these things, we know how which path or how we have to go further. Map multiple potential approaches. Now we have the option of creating multiple approaches, multiple options. We get to which if doesn't work, what is the plan A, plan B, like that. Because by uh, no single path can reach make us to reach our solution, but we have to make the adjustment and the we have to mix different strategies, different paths, which can give a ultimate a new strategy out of different small strategies, because our ultimate object is to get the solution in whatever way can be. Now we have talked about what we have to simplify the complex problem. What, how? We know that we have to simplify it, but how? So science of problem solving tells us that there are certain ways we can make the problem complex issues into a clarity path. The professional problem solvers leverage proven analytical tools to cut through complexity. These frameworks aren't just theoretical constructs, they are practical instruments that bring structure to solve. The first tool, such tool is issue tree. Hierarchical decomposition of problems into branches of sub-issues, enabling strategic, systematic exploration of all relevant dimensions. We make a sort of a issue tree. Okay, this is it can be on the reverse side, small issues coming to the downward like a flow chart and coming to the down ultimately, and real issues. Or as we did in the last part, we start finding the real issue. Out of those real issues, we bring the solve into small parts. See what are the out of that real issue, how that real issue has evolved with different aspects of the same thing. So we break those real problem into a small component through a issue tree. So what it will help us, it will help us to focus and see individual issue as a branch, as a part of that tree. So it will help us to focus on each and every aspect without losing the overall thing. The second tool, such type of tool is again related to that only, that is the flow charting. Visual mapping of process and decision points that reveal bottlenecks, inefficiencies, and optimal pathways. When we draw a flow chart, see how the problem or the particular issue that we are talking about, it's working, how it starts, how it moves further, and what are the things that are coming in between, which is ultimately adding fuel to that problem. So flow charting is basically help us to visualize the issue, how it is moving on. So when we visualize the certain thing that is happening, it automatically make us to think in that manner. It our thinking process gets this, and we know that where that flow has to be broken so that the problem doesn't get uh, exaggerated or get elevated, and ultimately the solution is, if the solution can be found at the very first or the second step, there is no need of working further. So what it happens is he ultimately brings the complex issue by identifying the real bottlenecks in between the path. So we have to then work on that bottleneck. 80-20 Pareto analysis, that is identifying the vital few factors that drive the majority of outcomes, allowing focus effort on high. That we talked about the prioritizing. So that is what we were saying, that the 80-20 analysis. See, sometimes 80% of the problem is solved by a single aspect. So if we are able to focus on that small part, which can solve ultimately the 80% of the problem, So it will automatically help us to reduce our effort, our energy, and our resources, so that, but it will give the best of the solution. But if we will keep on focusing on the 20% part only, it will not give the overall result. Cause effect diagram, we have to make the issue of a fishbone diagram that trace problems back to root cause. As we said, what was the core issue, core real issue. So by making the problem in a fishbone diagram, it will help us to get to the core issue. If we get to the core issue, automatically we will be able to see what the they say. Look, in medical line, what happens? First of all, they go for the clinical test, biological test, so that they can identify what actual the issue in the body. So when they know that this is the problem, this is the core issue, and they are able to diagnose that, then their uh, solution in the form of what type of medicines and what type of things have to be taken. If it requires surgery, it requires, we have to go that way. If it can be done without surgery, it can be done that way. So ultimately, cause effect, we have to find key what was the ultimately cause which leads to all these things that has come to patient to a hospital. So these are the four different type of tools to simplify complex problems, which we do follow in our day-to-day life, but never realize that we are doing it in this manner. In our offices, we make flowcharts. In our offices, we do see, okay, the high value or high volume clients has to be taken care of first. Then we will bring it to the low values, because we know that in the low value clients or the low volume clients, less of the efforts are required. But what the problem is, because the number are more, or sometimes their issues are little different, so we get stuck into them and waste most of the time on that part. But we are because of which we lose on the time that we need to put into the high value client. So breaking the this breaking the issue problem into small parts requires one of the example is a client, a manufacturing company reported that its quarterly revenue has dropped, profitability has dropped, whereas its revenue has increased as compared to the last year. But the management is not able to find out what the real reason is, because they are not they concentrated more on the figures of they saw that our revenue has increased from the last time, but our profitability has reduced. Whereas they thought of their profit will also increase with the increase in the revenue. What happened is the professional or chartered accountant did the structured analysis. He broke the issue into discrete component like pricing strategy, see what led to the higher volume, high sales, because that was a pricing set, but pricing strategy has been followed. What was the cost structure? Has it increased or reduced? Working capital efficiencies and tax leakages. Each of the area of different financial parts he examined systematically, and he ultimately reached to a root cause, which said that because of uh, margin erosion, there was a margin erosion. Means earlier the margin was more, although the sale was less, but now even after increasing of the sales, the margin has eroded comparatively more as required due to aggressive discounting to win volume, and coupled with delayed collection, extending working capital cycle by 30 days. So ultimately, in order to get more of the sale orders, in order to increase the sales, lot of undue, unwanted discounts were given, the prices were affected, and at the same time, in order to get more of the buyers and the distributors, the credit cycle also increased, which ultimately affected my whole of the working capital cycle. So due to the wrong work, increased working cycle requirement and otherwise my interest cost increase, my other indirect cost increase, my discounts increase. So the trading part or the revenue part increase, margin reduce, but at the same time the cost increase in a more uh, way, which ultimately led to the below the line, affected my below the line profitability. So what he told the solution that is we was able to give is he, we have to revise our pricing strategy with volume tiers. It was not required that a discount has to be given at every point, but you have to make a certain point. Okay, this is the if he's able to achieve this much of profit sales, then the discount level is this much. If is again the tiering through a tire system, as the sales increase, the discount was put into this thing. But as if we see the discount rate is not the same, we only need to have a push at the first level. Once it starts going on increasing, the discount rate, even if it gets reduced, it ultimately will not affect much, or it will still be an incentive to the uh, for the person putting up the sales or getting the sales. So we have slowly, it will also help us to negotiate our recovery, our debtors, our debt time. So by finding the solution in this manner, the automatically the sales started kept on increasing, but our margins also increased and our improved, and ultimately the profitability was restored in a couple of quarters. So the basic point was we first of all understood what actual the issue was, that even after increasing sales, the profits were reducing. So what are the key takeaways from this part is that complexity reduces when structure increases. So by putting different issues into a structured form, combining the different parts into a same bracket, it ultimately helps us to reduce the complex structure of the whole of the scenario. And after that, clear problem definition solves half the issue. If we know the what clear problem is, what actual problem is, core issue is, so half of the work is done because now we have to focus on that issue rather than taking at the same time 100 of the issues which we don't know which one is the actual one or the core issue that is going to be. So if we know the core issue, we identified the core issue. So now our problem is half solved. Now it's the working on that core issue itself. Now complexity has been reduced. Now it's think ahead, not just respond. From reactive to proactive professional. Problem solving can be done if we identify the problem forehand. Reacting to a situation rather than acting forehand and identifying or thinking about the problem that may arise in the future because of the trends and other things. Automatically, when we say that prevention is better than cure, so we have to work on the prevention. Problem solving is preventing the uncalled for situation rather than once the situation arises, we react to it. Because when we react to a problem, it is it can go either way. But when we do it in a strategic manner, we do it in a planned manner, we look for safeguards even before certain accidents happen. Automatically, it will help us to reduce the loss. So, if we talked about chartered accountant, the reactive CA is respond to notices. Once the notices arrive, we respond to it. Fixes error after they occur. That means error has already occurred. Now, what we are doing is we are doing the damage control. Looks backward at problem. Problem has already arisen. Now we are looking at what what the reasons that because of which the problem arise and operates in crisis mode. Now, if the crisis has occurred, we have to now convert that crisis. But when we are strategic, see how our approach gets into. We anticipate issues before they arise. Suppose the financials come to us, we say ki if there are certain issues in this thing, and if we don't care about those issues, it will ultimately lead to a notices at later stage either in GST or in income tax or otherwise. So what we do is we prevent problems proactively. We start guiding the management ki okay, this problem is getting this. This may cause a problem to you at later stage by causing the show cause notice or otherwise. So we start preventing problems at the very time of transaction itself. We plan forward strategically. Okay, this is this the way the revenue is getting generated so high, it is ultimately leading to the way you are providing the discounts, the way you are providing the increasing the recovery period. This will ultimately affect your working cycle because you are not at the same time working on the payment part, or you are not getting the same amount of uh, credit period from your supplier. So this you are increasing the credit part, which will ultimately affect your working cycle in a very short period of time, affecting your overall cash run. We have to create competitive advantages by thinking and setting in the proactive manner, which will help us to tell the client, okay, sir, once issue happens, then we are definitely there, but we are here also to help you to not to get into any problem. So the difference between these two approaches defines our professional trajectory and the value we deliver to the clients and the organization. Because in the strategic part, as a reactive PA, what we are doing is we are only providing the solution after which a problem has arrived. But as a strategic PA, what we are doing is we are helping the client to not to get into a problem at all. So that will be more beneficial to the client because now the client knows that my CA or my consultant is working in a proactive manner, as a far-sighted manner, and in a more uh, better manner. But it is easy said than done because why we get into reaction mode. Actually, 80 to 90% of us are in the reaction mode only. Reason being that there are certain factors that have over the period of time or in our society or in our working system, etc., that these things have got into the core part. These passion and real pervasive in the CA profession, something like this is firefighting culture. Organizations generally don't reward with for your proactive approach. They reward you for crisis management. When the crisis arises, how you reacted to in that crisis, how you worked in that part, what how better way you were able to remove that crisis. Deadline driven work, constant compliance deadlines consume bandwidth, leaving a little time for scheduling. Means we are so much stuck into the deadline level. We every 4 days, 1 month has, as I said, the 31st December ended, but again there are quarter end requirements, quarter end deadlines that are approaching in January, other things in taxations in other parts. So we are so much engulfed in all those deadline meetings that we get very little time or our energies are so much consumed in that deadline space that we are not able to, even if we want to, we are not able to do it because of these overindulgence. Compliance pressures, the never-ending stream of regulatory changes and filing requirements keep professionals focused on immediate obligations rather than future work. We are so much engulfed in the immediate issues that we forget that or we forget to plan. We forget to sit with the client and discuss on the future. Means, as I said, already 9 months has left of this financial year, and we are still stuck into the filing of previous year. So till the time we are not able to get the time, enough time, how we are going to sit with the client and discuss, okay, what are the focus areas we need to work on this year? Because although 9 months have already left for this year, where to plan? So we have to break the cycle. Proactive thinking isn't about having more time. Time will remain the same. There will be 24 hours in a day, 365 days in a year. It will not increase. but it's about allocating existing time differently to prevent future stress. How we get out of these deadline driven work, out of crisis management, and plan our way or our manner in such a manner that we are able to devote more on the strategic part rather than the compliance one. Because with the coming of the AI and the new tools and additional things, machine work, most of the regular work can be taken care by the machine. So we have to get or streamline our professional system in a manner that we put more work or we put more effort on the human thinking rather than the work which is can be taken care by the AI. The strategic thinking model for the CS can be moving from reactive to proactive requirement requires a systematic approach. The forward thinking loop provides a framework for anticipating challenges and opportunities before they become urgent. We have to observe the trend, what is happening in the particular industry in a particular thing, because as a chartered accountant, day in day out we meet with different people, different clients having different things. Sometimes we go to the seminars, certain conferences where we come to know how the world over is changing, how the industry is changing, what new things are coming up. So we start observing them, we start identifying what are the possibilities where our prospective clients or the existing clients with the prospective opportunities can be there for them. So we keep our mind, our ears, eyes open all the time and keep on observing the trend, how the trend is toward what thing trend is moving. We anticipate outcomes, project how current trends will impact your client, practice area or organization. Suppose a particular our client, very good client is dealing in a product which at present is giving him the best of the things. But when we see the trend, we see that okay, this thing is going to be out of the ecosystem or this will be whitewashed in the next decade or so. So we anticipated okay, if we keep on doing this thing only or we keep on moving in this manner, in a decade or so we are going to get exit. So we have to uh, identify the issue or a problem which is going to appear maybe in a long term. Long term means in a 5 to 10 years period. But by we know that this is going to happen, so we have to start working on the same. We have to prepare scenarios, develop contingency plans for multiple potential futures, build flexibility into your strategies to adapt to situation involved. We have to work on creating the solutions at now itself. From now, when we have already identified the problem or we have seen that this problem is going to occur in the near future or a long future also, so we start preparing for the solution now itself. We start working on the same. We start making the strategy. See how slowly, and but gradually we are going to move shift in the manner that no knee-jerk reaction is there, no immediate stop or halt is there, and rather than following getting into the follower part, we become a trendsetter ourselves. Our client become a trendsetter ourselves, so that the transition phase is so smooth that we don't even feel that there is a transition that is happening. Act early. Implement preventive measures while you have options and time. Now, when the our client work is already in a auto mode, it's getting growth day by day, it's getting gradually growth. Now we have to act upon that. How the time that we have saved or the client is saving the time out of the regular work, how he can use that time into a better part. As a chartered accountant also, now since 31st December, most of the compliances part has been done. Now even if we have 3 months, we can plan and strategize how the next cycle of next financial year that is going to start from April or so, means even if we are in a bank audit or how we can hone our skills with the new income tax act coming into action from 1st of April. How we can do this thing in such a manner that ultimately this thing gets involved. How we can plan or educate the clients about the new things or the new changes that are coming up. So in these 3 months, we can plan our thing or strategize in this thing so that the next year we don't face certain problems that we faced this year because of immediate changes that has come into. Like there was requirement of financial information come presentation by the institute which got deferred this year due to certain objection from the stakeholders or the members. But next year it is going to come. So why don't we start making those changes now itself so that once the next year it arrives, our client also knows that this is the we have to do it in this manner, and they also get ready for the same so that the moment the finalization of the account start next year, they already are available or ready with the sources and the things that we require. There are certain tools for thinking ahead also like scenario planning. Develop detailed narratives of multiple possible futures. See, there can be n number of solutions or there can be n number of possibilities for every future because future is unpredictable. We can only make or think it okay, A plus B, B plus C, A plus C, what type of different solutions or different combinations etc. can be made which can have a different result at future. Identify triggers and pairing response strategies for each path. And even if certain changes are being made or certain strategies are being followed, what are the possible constraints in that? What are the possible uh, things that can happen which can block our strategy? How to get overcome that strategy? So scenario planning, make different scenarios. Okay, if and but if this thing, then this thing. If this thing, this thing. So that will help us to make our preparation in a better way because now we know there are different scenarios that can happen. What are the aspects of the scenarios? What are the possible success rate of those scenarios? What are the possibilities that what simple changes can be made in a particular type of scenario so that it doesn't get stopped and it gives a better result in our best too. So we are ready forehand. Okay, this if this thing happens, we can do this thing. If this thing happens, we can do this thing. So we are automatically planning in a more different scenario base. What if analysis, as I said, systematically test assumptions by various assumptions. If this a little bit of price changes are done, what is the effect it will put on the overall volume of the sale? If certain discount is given, what it will going to have on this? If certain cost is increased or a certain cost is cut down, what benefit it can give in overall profit scenario, even if the sale doesn't grow in a particular manner. So different assumptions, different testing will help us by analyzing those assumptions and what if analysis. We will be able to make think in a future uh, future thinking. Our future thinking will get more into a uh, scientific result rather than a daydreaming. Budget versus forecast. Budget and forecast look very same, but actually there is a difference. There is a difference between an aspirational target that is a budget and realistic projection that is a forecast. You must have seen in the stock market when the companies declare their quarterly results, they don't provide their budgeted figures for the next quarter, they provide the forecast for the next quarter. And what is that forecast? They know कि, okay, budget can be for the internal system, budget can be for the employees or this thing because they know that if we will give a budget of 100, at least 60, 70 will be achieved. But forecast is something, okay, we down the line know, okay, by the industry trend, by the given scenario, by the competitiveness, we know this is the forecast that we will be able to achieve because of realistic projection given the scenario, budget, our strength, our product. This is the best that we can achieve. So regular forecast updates help us to work on a better way because if we will not update our forecast within the under the given with the changing scenario of the market, we will be going for a wrong target rather than realistic target. So that is one of the things which will help us in having a realistic forecast projections will help us to monitor in a better way rather than using the budget. Regulatory horizon scanning, we have to continuously monitor the proposed regulatory changes if any exposure draft is there of any bill. or any changes that is going to even after 2 years that is going to be implemented or something, or we get to know that certain type of discussion is going among the management or the certain regulatory consulting that they are thinking of bringing such type of changes into this. So active knowledge of the same and reacting or proactively acting on the same will help us to minimize the loss that can occur to us if it immediately happens. So if we see that the topmost entrepreneurs in the world, they are more into the thinking, seeing what actually is happening in the near future. They are more concerned about the type of changes that the government or the regulators are bringing, and they start planning for the same from the current time. Suppose a change in the certain environmental uh, regulatories are changing. So they will start working on the same from the right from the now, how they can help us get the resources or the get into this thing in an early stage and be the early bird into a particular industry or something with the upcoming environmental regulation changes, which will help them to get most of the benefit at the initial stage. One of the example can be that how preventive cash flow crisis. There was a situation where the when a CA analyzed the trends of the company that for the last 4 or 5 years, what was happening was see, there was a time period in the year wherein the 3 years, the 3 month or so season, the revenue was less because of the long cycle of debt realization. But since the billing was done, the sale was made, but the collection period collection was less. So automatically, due to the GST compliance requirement, the GST outflow was more, even though we were not having that much of inflow because of the low collection. Means the billing was done, GST was to be paid on the at the time of invoice, but the collection was not getting done in the immediate next month or so, but was getting postponed to 2 to 3 months or 4 months during that slow cycle. Due to which, what was happening is the invoice was getting less, the GST outflow was getting there, and for those 3 to 4 months, every year there was a problem of cash crunch. We need to arrange for the short-term funds either in the form of ad hoc based financing from the financial institution or anything, but it always used to cost us a lot. So the problem was anticipated. Without intervention, the company would face severe cash flow stress. This was the problem that was anticipated. And from the beginning itself, it was known that the next year also the same is going to happen. Solution that was implemented was the CA advice phase invoicing to smooth revenue recognition. They said, okay, you start invoicing in a phased manner. Don't put the one invoice, whole of the invoice in the very first month itself, because the moment the invoice is made, your GST liability occurs. So they said, okay, break the invoice into parts. Start supplying if it's a service part, with considering AS9 revenue recognition provisions of the accounting standards, you start invoicing on the base of case manner rather than waiting till the putting all the invoice in a single month. Divide the invoices into different months in a overall framework of revenue recognition. So in this manner, what happened is even though the revenue was going to be realized in a longer term, our billing was also done in a phased manner so that the GST outgo or the GST outcome flow is not so much more, ultimately leading to low cash flow requirements. Because of that, in the phased manner, the plan it was done so that ultimately the cash projections and the cash inflow and the outflow was managed in a manner that the amount of cash or inflow was that was being done in it was sufficient enough to manage our outflow. So we didn't require the additional ad hoc funds or additional funds with a higher cost. This ultimately saved on the interest cost of up to rupees 5 lakh, ultimately adding to the below the line margin or below the line profit, which has ultimately for the overall profitability of the company. So this is the cash flow crisis, prevention of cash flow crisis by the future thinking by thinking ahead. Okay, this is going to happen in next year also. Why not to plan it in a better manner? So thinking ahead creates control. It gives you the driving force. You are in a controlling position rather than in a reactive position. So when you are in a controlling position, you are able to take the certain decisions or in the work in a manner which is not going, which is the cost saving rather than cost affecting. So prevention is cheaper than correction. That is a thumb rule in all aspects of life that prevention is always cheaper than correction. Rather than waiting for your body to get into a situation to require immediate health things, consultation or a health medication, it's better to work on your body right from the day one or the very beginning. Do exercise and have a healthy food and your this thing routine so that you don't get into that problem. So prevention is cheaper than correction. That is always the thumb rule. So what is the challenge in our professional life also that identify one potential issue in your current client portfolio? We all know some of the clients have this thing. You pick up your best of the clients, identify your uh, potential issues that can arise and that is happening at present or may arise in a near future or this thing because of their specific industry and work on that. Find the solution, do the research on that, do the data work, and get the and propose the same thing to the management on a test basis. Okay, I as a consultant, I believe that this may happen. So just for a test check, start doing on this thing. If you find it in a this thing beneficial to you, we can work it in a longer way. So this will help you or the client also to understand your future thinking, your concern about their issues. This will also help them to have more faith on you since you are working for their future thinking, which they might not have anticipated at present. Third aspect of problem solving is let data drive smarter decisions. Look, being a shade chili will not help. We have to work on the specific point. Opinion to evidence. From opinion to evidence means if I have opined right, that should be based on a evidence. I should have some data, some information, some things which support my conviction. Means if I am like in the previous slide I said, if I am going to tell my client, okay, this is the future in future, if we have to follow this type of remedy in order to reduce the future loss or future issues. So the client will automatically say, where is the problem? How you came into the knowledge of this problem? So we should have the realistic data, the things which we can put before the client. Okay, sir, see, this is the situation. I have studied your quarter to quarter and growth during the last 3 years, and have seen that your this quarter creates have this problem every year, or these 3 months, or these 4 months, or this 6 months period always create a problem for you every year. So why not to work on it? So now the client will realize, okay, no, this has happened in the past. The trend is in this way. So this is going to continue, or this new situation is going to come before us. Why not to work on it? So this will reduce the bias. Data ground decisions is objective reality rather than subjective impressions, personal preferences, or cognitive biases that can lead even experienced professional experts. So when we will start thinking logically, discreetly, and on the basis of the information available on hand rather than on our prejudicials or biases, it will help us to get more proactive towards the problem solving. It improves the credibility also. As I said, the evidence-based recommendation carry greater weightage with the stakeholders. So when we will put before the client, okay, this is the information or trends on the basis of which we are proposing you this solution, so automatically he will be more impressed. He will be more uh, confident about the what we are talking about or what we are proposing about. But if we will just without any basis, without any strong evidences or things, we will give any idea or thing to the client, he will not take us seriously. So working forehand in a best manner will always help it to uh, impress the client or make him understand what the real issue is. It enables the predictability. Historical data patterns reveal trends and relationships that improve forecasting accuracy, allowing organization to plan with greater confidence. Most of the clients, they make their budget, they make their future projections, but they make budget. What we need to have is we have to make them their budgets into their forecast, and that can only be done if the budgets or the forecasts are made with the past and with the study and on the basis of the future anticipation. That will help them to catch up, make what work or a forecast with what they are doing till now. If we get into that process or we help them to do the forecast, it will help them to have a better path into this. So while dealing with this data, we come to three points, three type of things: data, information, and insight. We have all studied that what is an information? Information is a regulated or structured form of data. Another, it means data is a array. It can be of any type without any logic, without giving any information or without revealing any conclusion. Data is just a raw form of figures that are there without giving any proper guidance or information. So, and what is the information? It is a little bit organized data, not a little bit, but an organized data, structured data that provides context. It can give you an idea. Okay, the revenue has grown, the uh, profitability has improved, the margins has improved, the cost has increased. This is the information. But what we have to move now for as a proactive thinker or as a solution provider, not as a data. Data converted into information is a historical thing, but we have to go into an insight. Insight is actionable understanding derived from information. Yeah, how that information can be used to get to the solution or take a action on that information. If we stop at the information level, it is will not going to serve any purpose. We have to find the next stage of action on the basis of that information, and that is an insight. Stakeholders don't want data or even information. That is available to them only. What they want from us is how that information can be used to make the future action. They want insights that enable better decisions and drive results. Because information and data is from the historical part, but insight gives them a future part, which is yet to be seen or which is yet to be achieved. So they are more interested into what is going to be achieved rather than what they have achieved. That is the information. Our analytical toolkit should include multiple approaches for examining data from different angles. Each tool reveals different aspects. The first one is ratio analysis. Now the ratios are made quantitative relationship between financial statements, item revealing liquidity, current ratio, other ratio, profitability ratio, efficiency ratio. Now, when we analyze these ratios in the past, that is data to information, that ratios are the information. Okay. Now, how that ratio we can be analyzed so that we can find what is our future or how our forecast has to be maintained. So our quantitative relationship, this ratio analysis help us to get into the insight and give a more better uh, evidences to the client or a prospective issue creator or a problem solving, that how that ratio analysis will help them to know कि, okay, this has happened in the past, this is the ratios that our financials are getting to this thing, what future. The next one is same on the basis of like ratio analysis with trend analysis. How that trend has changed in the previous past, how the patterns have changed, how the seasonality has changed, how certain things have changed. Means there is a slow growth in a particular period of a time. Like in the automobile industry, we always say that first half is on a low level side. See, because there is not much sale in the first half, because as the people are not much interested into this type of investment, with high value investment in the initial part of it. But once the festival season starts from the next half of the year, automatically that sales increases in the automobile industry because people are more interested into buying or investing at the time that the festivals are there or this thing is there. So there is a trend. So why to block our raw material or this thing during the time when the sales are low? Why to invest more on at that time period when the sales are low? So we will preserve our energy. We will strategize our launches, our promotion offers for the time when there is more of a sale expectation. So that is a trend analysis. We can help through that trend analysis how the thing can be done. Variance analysis, systematic comparison of actual versus planned means the budget was this thing, budget analysis, budget variances or forecast variances. The earlier last year we made this budget. These were the various that we found out that helped us to know which part is more proactive or where we have to make more of a budget allocation. So where our budget is getting stuck into or our forecast is stuck into. So that help us to find the right point or pinpoint the area where actually the variation is coming. So how we had to redesign our budget or the forecast or redesign our booking, our costing so that the variances are minimum as compared to the actual performances. Dashboard and MIS were visual presentation of key performance indicators enabling at a glance assessment of organizational health and when we have to give a presentation to the management, okay, this is the problem that is going to the they require okay, what you have told us is are the figures. But when we show them in the form of a graph, we show them in the form of a MIS, this thing, analytical, or in the form of a chart, that will have more impact on them. They are more interested going, they don't want to go, the higher management doesn't want to go into the nitty-gritties of the process. They want to see the overall picture that can be shown in the form of visual presentation to the client and of the key performance indicators because they are more interested into bigger indicators rather than smaller indicators. But that smaller indicators are ultimately going to make that bigger indicator, and that smaller indicator requires thorough data analysis and insight. Asking right questions from data. Look, when we started computers at early stages, we were taught that computer is nothing but a zero, garbage in, garbage out. So if we will ask wrong questions from the computer, it will give wrong answer because it doesn't have a today. Even in case of AI, we always talk about कि, okay, AI help ले लेंगे. With the help of AI, we can generate this thing. But always note one thing that AI is also going to give you the information only what we have asked for or what information we require. It doesn't apply much of its own mind. Still, it's the artificial intelligence. So asking questions that reveal meaningful insights will help us to get more for data. So if we will not ask right questions from the data or not drive right question from the data, it will not give us a desired result. So what changed? Identify deviation from expected pattern. We have to identify what are the deviations. Quantify the magnitude of changes across key metrics. Which factor was the most uh, which factor was more effective while making our decision? Why certain things happened, which was the most fueling factor that led to the particular situation? Why did it change? Then we have to see what were the things that made it to change in this manner. Why there was a lot of variation between the expected variable cost and the actual variable cost, or why there was so much direction between the employee cost that increased as in a more manner as expected by us. So we have to identify the real cause of that change, and then we have to see what happens if the trend continues. If this trend continues, what is going to be happen in a longer run? Project current trajectory forward to understand implications. If suppose if this type of employee cost starts keep on increasing, it may affect our existing employees also. It can lead to the un, sort of uh, what we call complacency in the employees also, as they will not be of the view or they will get this sign that the company is ready to bear their high cost even if they don't deliver. So we have to see what a particular trend can lead to a future problem. So that can be done only by asking the right question from the data to what exactly we want from that information. What actually the information analysis can be, what right analysis of that information can be done. One of the example can be like MIS driven cash flow improvement. Baseline established a key implemented monthly MIS dashboard tracking key metrics including data days, which average 65 days with a acceptable range but trending upward. Means we analyze a particular year that key, month on month when we analyze, we were seeing that the data realization was being done. It was within 65 days. It was in the 65 days within the norms of 90 days, but this 65 days has increased over the period of time from 55 or 50 days to 60 days, 65 days. So it shows that the data realization is getting day by day, the data realization time is getting longer. So if the pattern was identified, ki, okay, ki in during which day period of the year that data realization gets, or is it happening 12 months or whole of the year? That it is slowly increasing. So if this keep on increasing and this is happening, it was causing a stress on our regular working capital requirement due to which more uses of the interest bearing funds were being done, causing an unprecedented interest loss or interest cost to the concern, which is affecting to the overall profitability. So the action was taken. The root cause analysis revealed gaps in credit policy enforcement and follow-up process. It was seen that key, the follow-up from the on part of data realization was not as stringent or as professional as that was required. So what happened is what was happening that the debtors were being getting too casual in making the payment, and even our sales staff or this thing were not taking very much efforts into this thing. The robust data realization process was not done. They were not sent uh, reminders at a timely basis and this way. So ultimately, what was happening is the overall aspect of data was getting increased. So they started analyzing they took uh, for the right things at the right time. They made the sales people realize that they have to get the collections also. The incentives of the sales people was logged to the till the time the realization was not made. Incentive was not revealed or incentives were not distributed among the team. So the sales people for their own incentives started realizing the data more aggressively, and so in this way the ultimately the realization period again came down to a reasonable and accepted level of risk. So this was known or the problem was identified beforehand or the resolution was signaled just because the thorough examination of the trends was done, thorough examination of the data was done, information was done, that this is increasing slowly but ultimately becoming chronic. So before it becomes the more painful, the action was taken and it was stopped. So data basically enables confident decision making. So even if our day-to-day life also, if we suppose we have a presentation for the client for the finances. So if we have a right data and we are ready with the conclusive answer to any of the expected questions, we are more confident in giving our presentation. Even when we go for the in any of the text resolutions to any tribunal or something, when we are ready with our data, when we are ready with our information and everything, we put our point more strongly. We put our point with more conviction, which ultimately leads give a effect on the uh, judges or on the person making who was to make a decision. That is our we are so strong in our conviction, we are so strong in our data that gives a more of a confidence in not only in us but to the person who is getting the information or to whom we are providing that information. So insight matters more than volume of data. Ultimately, what we have to see is it doesn't matter. There are you means you have got a uh, 65-page presentation or 65 page of data, but what basically is required is see what out of that data or information, what insight we can get, what future we can get, what analysis we can get from that. That is more important rather than what exactly is data. The last part of our problem solving is solve with speed, confidence, and impact. Execution is the final step. Look, it doesn't matter how much planning you do, but how much better execution you can do of that planning, it ultimately matters. You can make the strategies, you can make the policies, but if those strategies, those policies are not implemented in the right spirit, there is no outcome. Government may lost many policies which are beneficial for the citizens, but if on the ground level the executive or the bureaucracy is not working in that right spirit or in that right delivery mode, it is not going to give the benefit to the ultimate consumer or the ultimate beneficiary of that policy. So delayed decrease decisions increase cost. The quicker you take the action, quicker you take the decision to solve the problem, it will provide better results rather than waiting for the right time because right time never comes. We have to make the time right. It is always said that if we keep on waiting for the right time, it will never arrive. Opportunities are time sensitive. Identify the opportunity, take a right action at the right time. It will help you to stick click because opportunities sometimes are the very short span of time and if it gets missed, you miss out on a long term loss. Balancing speed with accuracy. Sometimes as a chartered accountant, what happens is it is in our training itself. We move towards getting the accuracy, 100% perfection. But moving towards perfection is a good approach, but getting the perfection is never a right thing because it's that journey of getting to the perfection. Take out lot of your effort, or doesn't give ultimate the right result. Is not going to serve any purpose. Not perfection, but sufficiency. In most business contexts, 70 to 80% clarity is enough to make something. It is not required that कि अब तक मेरे को till the time I get 100% clarity of the certain things, I will not make a decision. I will not. No. Sometimes 70, sometimes not only sometimes, but most of the time 70 to 80% of the clarity gives you a good insight or good thing to make decision or work upon certain problems. If we keep on waiting for 100% certainty, we miss out on the certain opportunities which may help us to get out of that problem. So till the time policy will be notified by the government, till the time certain thing will happen in somewhere, I will not take action or I will not take any decision. Will what will happen is when that particular thing will happen, I might lose a particular opportunity because then everyone will be aware of that or everyone will be working on that. The resources will get costlier, the things will get very might be like I'm saying, suppose there is a I have an insight that a government is planning to develop certain area in the state. Maybe not now, but in the 2 year or 3 year period of time. And I don't, I want to invest in that particular industry or in that particular area. I have a liking of that thing. But I don't buy the land at right time because at present the people are not knowing that this is going to happen in a 2 or 3 or 4 years. They will be able to, I might be able to procure best of the resources at the lowest of the cost. But I don't take action because I'm waiting till the time that particular policy is being made or that they will declare. I will not do this. So what I have missed out is I missed out on a cheaper resource acquisition rather than waiting for the taking the action at the right time and then start working on the same. So waiting balancing I have to balance my speed with accuracy. Waiting for the accuracy will derail my speed, but at the same time overspeeding will also make me take wrong decisions. So with my professional wisdom, I have to distinguish between reversible and irreversible decisions. Move quickly on reversible ones and invest more time in those that are difficult to undo. So I have to take a calculated risk. I have to identify what decisions taken now can be reversed at later stage if it doesn't work in our favor. And what decisions are there where we have to wait little more or have to work little more on that where I can help. But if I keep on waiting too much on all the decisions, the right ones that could be taken in a shorter span, I will miss the opportunities on that also. Decision making framework should be like this thing to define decisions right. Clarify who has the authority to decide, who must be consulted, and who should be informed. Ambiguity about decision authority creates delays and confusion. So if there is no demarcation or a light flow of management, it will create a problem. So I have to clearly define, okay, this much of if the decision requires this much of financial uh, aspect, certain this type of this level of management is good enough to this thing. This requires this much. This level of management is good. This level as the amount increases, the development like in banks we see, if certain powers are given to the branch manager, then to a controlling manager, then to the regional office, then to the journal, and then to the board. So what it happens is it every short decisions are not sent to the top management where it can get stuck or get delayed. So that define decision right so that the right decision is taken in a timely manner in a more efficient manner. Evaluate options. Identify viable alternatives, assess pros and cons of each and consider both short-term, long-term implications by using the right data for the right insight. I have to evaluate the options for taking decisions at the right time, small or big, can only be done if I evaluate my options. Okay, if this decision is taken, it is good for the short time, but on the basis of this short time decision, I could be able to work upon my longer duration decision or long term decision because by that time my homework will be done. Decide and communicate. Make decisions clearly and definitely. Communicate not just what was decided, but why. Because, like, if any one of us, I mean, most of us might have, uh, when the budget is brought by the government, what we hear is 2 to 3 hours of budget speech. What we need to look into is the memoranda to the bill because it provides the reasoning, it provides the basis, or it gives the distinction why this particular provision has been brought into the required bill, finance bill. It will help us to understand the basic reason and the logic behind the thing. So same thing happens with others also. If we are providing the management with certain solutions for certain decisions or asking the management, we don't only have to put the decisions, but we have to provide the background of the same. We have to provide the reason for the same, why this decision was required. What is the ultimate implication of the same? What factors led to make this decision? So it will help us in a more it will give a more impact on the person or the people to whom the decision has been given. Review outcome after implementation, assess results against expectation. What worked, what didn't. This feedback loop improves future decision quality. It is not that the decisions one taken is a final outcome. You have to continuously review your decision. You have to see what effect is it causing and never react in a short term. Suppose at the initial phase of the decision implementation, certain knee-jerk reactions come from the opposition or from the affected parties or something like that. You have to wait and analyze and try to see what type of outcome, whether this is going to cause this effect is such big effect that it can hold your problem or create a new problem or something like that. You have to keep on reviewing it. You have to see what mistake or what negative results are coming out of that decision and how to rectify the same because at the evaluation option only you have seen if certain type this type of things come, how you are going to work on it. And if certain unprecedented things happen during that process, that will give you insight or a feedback or a point of thought for your next decision or to take a decision. So review is very much important for you have taken what the decision you have taken, how it is working, how it is providing the result. Confidence is professional judgment is very much important, and that confidence comes only with thorough preparation, data-backed analysis, and experience. Professional confidence isn't arrogance. Means if I, as a professional, talks about something to my client or this, if in the earlier part, I said that we don't need to be arrogant, but our confidence should be so stern. Our presentation should be so stern, or our presentation should be so said with so much of conviction that the other person don't take it as a arrogance, but think it as our professional acumen, our professional experience, our thought process. See that if I am saying as a chartered accountant, I am proposing something, or as a financial consultant, or as a management consultant, I am proposing something, it means something because this decision or this solution is not coming just from something recent, but it has come over the period of time through thorough profession, database analysis, and my experience. That will give more confidence to the person to whom the problem solution is proposed for. Build through thorough preparation automatically, as I said, see, there is nothing like shortcut. You have to really work on the system. You have to prepare for something. You have to analyze. You have to think. You have to work on testing anticipated questions, get ready for the same if this happens. Because when you propose something, there are expected questions from the other side. And those all preparation has to be through a backed by data and information. It should not be from here or from there something because you at in current scenario of knowledge sharing or due to availability of Google and other things, search engines, you can never bluff. You will always be analyzed by the person who are doing this, but they can always cross check whatever you are saying. So your data-based analysis will always provide more confidence in your system. And finally, not that it is your experience that talks about how over the period of time you have worked for a particular type of industry or particular type of you have done particular type of work, and that experience to deal with the people, to your experience to deal with the situation, your experience to deal with the authorities gives you that confidence. Okay, this is happening, so it is. I can talk to from my long term experience that this is bound to happen. This example will give you an idea how your experience and how your uh, thorough working helps the client to take the right decision. This is an example that we face due to day to life in our professional work also. There is a client that faces a tax dispute with potential liability of rupees 15 lakh. The department came up with a OTS scheme or something like that or a solution from their own side that okay, so we can settle the tax dispute at 8 lakh and close the case. Now the client, which in general is the scenario is that he is inclined to fight the case on principle. Say, okay, no, I am right, I have not done anything wrong, I can prove this thing, I can this thing. So what the client is saying is might be right from his own perspective, but as a professional and as from the your overall experience over the period of time, considering the different angles of the law, considering the judicial system, considering the authority nature, you gave a solution to the client or you think that let's do a cost benefit analysis. If we go for the pursue the case further, the litigation cost will be 3 to 4 lakhs again. Management time will be lot of management time will be lost. Secondly, and the first and the most thing, there is a certain uncertain outcome. It can go either way. It can be in our favor. It cannot be in our favor. And ultimately, your the decision that is taken now will get postponed to the 3 to 5 years, where which will add to further cost of interest bearing or other part, and we don't know what future in future what additional cost can occur. So considering all these things, at present, what is 7 lakh, 8 lakh cost can lead to a 15 plus cost that at present is there because of the higher interest part of. So, as a professional or as a chartered accountant, I propose, that particular chartered accountant proposed that despite the initial resistance, that we should accept this settlement and save cost on a longer run. Because there can be more than other than financial, there can be non-financial factors also that can affect your business and this thing. So don't think about the 8 lakh settlement, think about the 7 lakh cost that you are saving plus the opportunity cost that is going to be there in the near future if at any point of time the cost stays case against us or the resolution doesn't get in our favor. So the client accepted the settlement and saved his 7 lakh potential liability by paying the 8 lakh, but at the same time, he was relieved of the any future negative outcome that can occur at later stage. So this ultimately led to their this thing. So by doing the thorough analysis of the cost benefit, by doing the thorough work of your information of rent, and with the experience of professional experience of this thing, we are able to make the right decision, help to solve the problem of the client by advising them the right situation or right solution, what could have been otherwise. Delivering impact, not just advice. We have to see that our work is not just to give the advice, but what how that advice is to be given that it delivers the impact on the person who is to whom we are giving the advice. We have to be clear in our communication. Present recommendation in language stakeholders understand. Don't go into the legal jargon or accounting jargon or something. So the tell them the things in a best possible way which they understand. Use executive summaries for busy decision makers. Don't go into the detailed way if you know that the decision makers are more interested into what actually is required to tell them rather than going into the detailing. Action oriented recommendation. Don't just give the recommendation but tell them how that recommendation needs to be implemented. Be specific about what should be done, by whom, by when, and with what resources. Vague advisory, because what happens is you give the advice, you gave the recommendation, but the management doesn't know how to make that recommendation, work action on that recommendation. You don't, management doesn't know which one is. So you have to provide the solution or the action part of that recommendation also. Okay, we recommend this thing and this will be done by a certain level of management, and this level of management will be doing it in a this particular time frame so that the results that we require or we expect can be given get driven from that in a best possible time. And after giving that recommendation and this, taking the action also, we need to follow. We need to do the management once stagnant might not get time or need to follow. We need to follow up with the management. Okay, sir, we told you this person is going to do this work in this much of time. What is the status? Are we going to get the required thing in a that much of time? Is the person to whom the responsibility was given is working? We have to cross check with them. We have to get the right data from them. We have to get the right uh, follow up from them so that at any point of time, if we find that the actions that were being taken were not getting done in the same manner, it may we can take a remedial action for that also. So speed plus confidence lead to leadership. A leader is the one who takes the decision at the right time with confidence and conviction. Means if he has taken the decision, he should not be dicey in that. He has the conviction to that. Okay, I have taken this decision. It's my responsibility to now make that decision right, rather than waiting for see whether was the outcome. I have to take all the effort to make all the effort that the decision I have taken in a timely manner goes in a rightful manner. Impact defines professional value. You are not compensated for effort or analysis. Whatever analysis you provide will not give you revenue or get you compensated. What compensate you will be compensated only if that analysis on this give a right impact on the person to whom you are providing it. The best technical advice that goes unimplemented creates zero value, and execution is where insight becomes impact. Without execution, no insight, nothing will work. So problem solving will only be done only when the solution that you provide to the problem gets the right impact. So summing up the whole of the scenario of problem solving science is the four interconnected pillars form the foundation of problem solving. Mastering each individually is valuable. Integrating them creates exponential impact on your professional success. First, you have to master each aspect of this thing, and then combining them will lead to your professional growth to a different level. Simplify complexity, just to review the same. Simplify complexity, make the problem or the complex issues simplified. Break them into parts. Make them into this thing that how small by breaking them into small parts and ultimately working on small issues so that overall issue can be solved. Think ahead. Problem solving is just not the crisis management, it's the thinking ahead. Thinking means thinking ahead, thinking of the future by seeing the prospective problem or prospective issue that is going to come in the near time and ultimately working hard on the same so that you can get the best of the result of it. Execute with impact. So, besides using data, the data, whatever you are doing is to be on the basis of certain facts and the figures and with realistic approach to the same, having the insight, getting the insight from the information from whatever there is, and on the basis of that insight, ultimately executing with them with impact. You whatever insight you get, you have to put them into execution, and that execution has to be with impact because without that it will not serve the purpose because the result will not be there. It's your ultimate aim is getting the right result from that solution and not just providing the solution. These pillars reinforce each other, simplifying complexity, creates space for forward thinking because then only you can think forward when you divide it. Data provides confidence for executive decision execution because with data you are more confident about the decision you are going to take. Speed enables you to capitalize on anticipated opportunities. Speed will help you to capitalize on your anticipated opportunities because you will not miss out by taking the right decision at the right time. And ultimately, they transform you to form a technical expert into strategic problem solver. We are till now the technical experts. We have to move towards the strategic problem solvers because that will only enhance or increase our value in the eyes of the stakeholders. Application is the bridge between learning and mastery. Ultimately, we have to identify the challenge. Just a small work for all the viewers and the listeners. We have to identify the challenge, create a current professional challenge, identify the clients who are there, which type of problem they are going facing, apply four-step lens, identify each problem into different the things that we are series simplify, think ahead, data acquisition, and work on the same this thing. Identify one immediate action. You have to see which immediate action needs to be taken at the first step. Even next in the next 48 hours, you what need to be done so that you can have an idea see how the thing can work if we start thinking as a problem solver, as a solution provider, not just as a technical expert. So, how does applying this structured approach change your perspective on the challenge? What insights emerge that weren't visible before? This will help you to introspect not only your own self but also the way you are working or when you are thinking, okay, I want to grow, I want to, I have reached the stagnation point. Now, what next? So, this will help you to think about what next. Final thought on this thing is professionals are not paid for activity, but they are paid for solving problems that matter. It is ultimately, as a chartered accountant, our value is measured by our ability to solve meaningful problems that move organization forward. If we are providing the meaningful solution to the problem for the organization to move forward, No, not only the client's organization, but our organization also, our own practice also. Then only we can grow our practice or grow ourselves as a professional rather than becoming the trend follower. We have to make a trend out, our own trend. Our technical foundation as a CEO is strong. Now build on it by developing these strategic capabilities, our professional enrichment, the capacity, soft skills that in the form of problem solvers. This will help us to create a lot more impact on the profession. So continue developing your strategies, thinking ability, apply these frameworks consistently, reflect on results, and refine your approach. Your journey from technical expert to strategic problem solver is going on and keep on going on till the time we stop doing the profession. And mind it is just not the profession, but in our day-to-day life also, if we follow or think in this manner or work in this manner, it will help us to solve many such problems which we are facing or which we never thought about facing. Okay, with this, uh, I would like to thank for everyone for the patient hearing and hope that whatever has been discussed in today's deliberation will help you to grow your professional, grow you as a professional in a longer run. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your insights. And again, it's an absolute pleasure me to give formal vote of thanks to you, sir. It has been such an honor to be part of this wonderful webcast on the science of problem solving, strategic thinking, and analytical mastery for professionals, organized by Professional Skill Enrichment Committee of ICI. On behalf of the Professional Skill Enrichment Committee of ICI, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our today's speaker, CA Bhavesh Mahajanji, for this his enlightening session. Sincere thanks to all and enable the webcast throughout. Wide round of applause and thanks to the organizer, Professional Skill Enrichment Committee of ICI, and our today's speaker, CA Bhavesh ji, and other stakeholders made the webcast a memorable one. And finally, we would like to thank all of you present here and helping us make this webcast and a grand success. Thank you, one and all, and I wish you a very happy new year. Thank you.
Thank you.